Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back to Equestria at War. As I realize now that all I do is play furry games, so might as well embrace it wholeheartedly, right? Why not? If this is my destiny, I guess I'll just accept it as what it is. Nice and simple. But I will not go quietly into ye old night, at least, as, I have finally managed to get at least one of the damn things done, and with one of them out of the way, I think I can just about barely squeak past. And I'm going to need to as well, as the Griffonian Empire is certainly shaking up to be a hell of a late-game boss. They've eaten absolutely everything. Wow, they are rather aggressive. I could not save Beolini this time around. I tried to give him arms, I tried to give him tanks, I tried to give him all the things he would require to defend himself, but poor Beolini was just viciously and violently bred out of existence. Oh well. If he was going to go anyway, that is probably the way in which he would like to go, so, yeah, there's something at least. But it's time to start heading for Africa, which means we're going to be island jumping a little bit. I am currently in the process of training the island jumpers themselves in the form of sea landung brigades, but before that we have an ocean or 7 to clear before we get to that point, so let's begin mining operations. Those are very valuable. And we've got the Aufklärungskommando will be providing us with spotting. And finally, the strike fleets under Admiral Racina will be providing strike fleets with both the spoils of the Great War, a bunch of ridiculously outdated battleships, and the slightly more modern one created for the Great War itself, which is, well, there is a new fleet on the way. I think most of it's probably done by now. Yes, it is, largely. In fact, this is probably enough to start training on that. This is a far more modern force. With the Supremacy class battleships, they're a lot more capable and will hopefully be useful, but until then, we're just gonna have to suffer with the old garbage we've got. Oh boy. I have defeated the Everfree. These guys are apparently still taking... Goddamn. Oh yeah, 77% resistance. Yeah, I can see why now. Oh boy. Oh boy, indeed. Well, resist and bite, I guess. As, there are... I'm trying now. I've got one out of the way. Maybe I can get at least one more. I doubt I'll get them all. But at least with one out of the way, it seems doable. It seems doable. Okay, this time we're just gonna do the worst thing possible. They shall earn their redemption through work. No. No rights for the ponies. Absolutely none whatsoever. We are also going to need to start doing naval strikes. And I think we'll shift other 200 craft into doing naval strikes in this area, and whilst we're at it, actually, how many else do I have in reserve? Attack bombers, where are my naval? There, the H-Classer. Okay, the Wasservogel. Vogel, actually. Let's train up a couple hundred more, just in case. Okay, well... So far, our initial engagements have worked out in our favor. That's nice to see. My entire fleet hasn't been sunk the moment it left port. This is good. And the naval strike craft also doing something. We should have pretty good air superiority in these areas. Yeah, we do. Pretty massive air superiority, actually. The greatest threat to a ship, of course, are not other ships. Oh boy, okay. Well, we're retreating from this battle, losing a destroyer, losing a cruisers, losing several cruisers. I am somewhat outnumbered and outmanned when it comes to the surface fleet stuff here, but hopefully the increase in air power will allow me to deal with it. Tempted to start engaging in port strikes, but port strikes might get really, really expensive. That was a nice one. Sniped off a heavy cruiser and a carrier, I'll take it. But port strikes might turn very, very expensive very, very, very quickly, as, yeah, ports tend to have a lot of AA, surprisingly enough. See, this was one of the reasons why the Americans did not strike at, what was it? No, not Baku. God, what was the name of that major Japanese naval base? See, okay, I don't remember the name of it right now, but the Japanese had a huge naval base, a natural harbor where they kept most of their combined fleet during the War on the Pacific. And the Americans were really scared of striking it, because they assumed that the amount of flak they'd face trying to do so would be absolutely crippling. And on top of that, they'd also be attacking a natural archipelago, with airfields on it. So they figured, of course, that any attacks upon this place would be absolutely ludicrously expensive. And they hesitated for absolute ages. Until eventually they could begin carrying out the strategy that the Americans would eventually come to dub the Big Blue Blanket. This was at the point where the Americans just had so many carriers that they didn't need, really, land-based aircraft anymore. Land-based aircraft had become somewhat superfluous at that point. The strategy of the Big Blue Blanket was extraordinarily simplistic. It was that they would have so many carriers in an area that they could simply saturate every single potential enemy airfield within striking distance of their carriers with 24/7 air cover. They could literally just camp the Japanese airfields constantly with overwhelming air power. It was extraordinarily unfair to the poor Japanese, who just wanted to fight a war and weren't allowed to do so on anything even remotely approaching equal footing, but it did also turn out to be pretty damn effective, so, you know, there is that. Oh, boy, that's a lot of shit, isn't it? Alright, we're gonna try a naval invasion with light elements just to see what we can get away with. These will be the Sturmjägers. I'm not entirely sold on their ability to, you know, pull this off, honestly, but... Oh boy, okay. Right, back off the battleship fleet for a moment. We're gonna give them a second to repair, so they can hopefully actually support the naval landing there, as this is where we got most of our big guns. And yeah, taking the Dragon's Lair there with light troops. The Lula Moon lead. Queen's Guard Captain Lakin Cardo barely spared a moment between knocking on General Major Yax off his door and stepping inside, catching the changeling at his desk in surprise. Captain Cardo, Jax said, rising his hooves and saluting. What brings you here? I'm here to discuss the reports you received out of Minneapolis, Lassen said, pulling over the chair from the other side of Yak's desk and sitting down across from him. So Trixie Lulamoon has been cornered after so long. Yak slowly sat back down on his seat. Yes, VOPS has operatives that have successfully infiltrated her main cell in Minneapolis. They're tracking her movement as we speak. He hesitated, then added, What is the Queen? I specifically requested you to talk this over with her personally. Boy, naval supremacy 6.5%. Gosh heavens, damn it. Well, I got air superiority, but certainly not naval. Queen's busy, Lassen said, grinning at Yax. I'm here in her stead, so when are we attacking? Attack? Yax was taken aback. We can't attack, not now. Now is the perfect time to seed more operatives into the resistance and prepare for a larger operation later. Captain, the only thing we'll attain by attacking now is sending her back to ground again. We can't afford to let that happen. I agree with you, Captain Cardo said. That's why I need to attack now, before she catches wind of us and goes to ground anyway. The longer this operation goes on, the more likely she is to figure out that there are infiltrators in her midst. We know where she is now. Why risk her slipping away by waiting? Yep, we're just going to listen to the Queen's Guard from now on. Not Chrysalis. Chrysalis is still retarded, but the Queen's Guard, yes, they seem like good people, and we are going to take their advice when they tell us to do something. We are going to do that damn thing. Let's see. Right. Half of my mining ships have already been sunk. Great. The Aufklärungs Commando has also taken an absolute beating. Oof. Yeah, the naval superiority operations are not going amazingly well, but we are cleaning out a fair few enemy ships via air operations, so we'll maintain it for a while longer, methinks, and, I'm going to authorize port strikes and double up on the units in this area, because surely we are driving their fleets to shore here, and if they happen to be going to shore in the Dragonlands, that would be an excellent opportunity to start getting some real sinkage going. We're picking off a very good number of destroyers. Minneapolis resistance cell crashed. Well, there you go. But before that, Cthulhu. Can you seriously discuss the FTC ruling? How will websites change how they allow filter user reviews? Lord, it is so needed. I can only applaud the news. I'm a little bit worried about it, actually, because they have put down a ban against, like, quote, fake content. I haven't looked at it enough to really get a good grasp, but to me, I'm a little bit worried that this will actually benefit the corporations more so than us, because what I fear is that it is in essence going to be a ban on, like, they could extend this to include fake reviews and be like, oh no, this review is fake. I have determined it's a fake review because I don't think it's serious enough, therefore I'm going to remove it. Little worried, honestly. Little worried. Minneapolis resistance cell crushed. Gunfire was heard well before dawn today as regiments of our garrison in Minneapolis mobilized under the orders of the Queen's Guard. Using information passed along by infiltrators in the city's main resistance cells, the garrisons simultaneously hit dozens of different hideouts and operation centers across the city. The fighting was fierce, often spilling out into the streets and between buildings as panzer grenadiers and armored vehicles worked in tandem with the local garrison to level resistance strongholds and flush their equestrians out of their holes. The resistance fought back with surprising ferocity, leveraging stolen changeling weapons such as anti-tank rifles and panzerfausts to inflict significant damage on the garrison. But by the end of the day, the smoke rising from across the city marked our success. The resistance cell in Minneapolis had been crushed, its survivors scattered to the winds, and our grips off the city more secure than ever. However, the main objective of the operation, the capture of the resistance leader Trixie Lulamoon, ended in failure. Of course it did. The mayor was able to evade our forces after a brief skirmish ended in failure. The main resistance hideout inflicted numerous casualties on her escape. Though we have searched high and low for her, she's simply nowhere to be found, and has likely escaped the city by this point. It seems our chance at catching one of the masterminds of the Equestrian resistance has failed, and she will doubtlessly be more careful and more difficult to locate next time. I'm pretty much sure the other one is the exact same thing as well, as she still escapes, because, you know, these ponies have got a fair bit of plot armor around them. Fair old bit. So, let's get started on heavy missiles, because I do like the idea of heavy missiles. And probably get to work on more destroyers as well, as we are going to need more and more and more and more of them and everything else. Everything between heaven and earth as we continue to pick away at the little shits. Alright, well, our naval superiority is actually beginning to rise, and we just sunk another carrier, actually, very nicely. There might still be an opening. Oh, hello there. It would be nice to pick that off, but I somehow doubt my two destroyers can manage to chase down and destroy that. Nope. And in fact, they hung around just a little bit too long and got themselves killed in turn. Stupid, stupid little destroyers. Why did you do such a dumb thing, huh? Ah yes, the Chrysalis one. On second thought, perhaps it's a bad idea to send Chrysalis anywhere. Yes, it is. It is never a good idea to let Chrysalis do anything whatsoever. If Chrysalis wants to do something, it's guaranteeably a bad idea and should be vetoed with great force and authority. But yes, I am a little bit worried about the FTC ruling. We'll see, but I think it could easily be interpreted far too widely and in far too negative a way for the end user there. I do hope I'm being paranoid, but Arch is very rarely being too paranoid. In this day and age, I'm not even sure there is such a thing as being too paranoid. I don't know if it's physically possible to be too paranoid. Avengers Minneapolis, how darest thou? And not sending Chrysalis does pretty much as badly, yes. Well, that's hardly a surprise. It's Trixie and Best Pony. Obviously, they're going to be pretty good at this resistance stuff for obvious reasons. And we've got naval supremacy. Right. How's the bombardment navy doing? Mostly operational. Okay. All right, we've got 9 big old battle boats. I'm not enormously optimistic about this, but I do have 600 aircraft ready to start running ground support once the invasion starts, so let's see. I might be being overly optimistic by going with the Dragon's Land first. I might need to pick on something a little bit more humble, but here we go. We've got 10 Sturmjägers. I'm pretty sure the aircraft are going to need to do the majority of the work here. Right, whilst the Sturmjäger Commando get ready, let's make sure that we've also got 8 divisions of regular infantry and 3 divisions of our panzers. The 8th, 7th, and 1st will get the honor. Right, the Air Force is doing its damn job by smashing things into absolute fucking kindling. The landing forces too are being severely disorganized. A nice dinner. And nip it in the bud. Ah, nice, nice. Okay, enough of them shattered. Oh, very nice actually. Very, very nice. Alright, take advantage of that immediately. Begin seizing terrain. Right, you may resume strike force duties so that you won't sit there as a giant target. No, you're not going to be chilling there because that's going to take away all of my supplies. Please no. And Sturmjägers, leave 2 behind and continue grabbing terrain. Oh, so you're still on, dumbass little command, are you? Right. Get everything you can, my little boys. We are going to get as much effect out of this as we can. Nice, and you overran them too. Very, 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 very good. Chrysalis might just be smiling on us after all. Nice. Arch is invading Taiwan. I think you will find it's more like Folan? Folan? Would it be Folan? Folan? I like Folan, yes. I sort of like Folan as a name for it. KKND, crush, kill, and destroy. I might need to start getting some just garrison units to occupy these ports all over the place. Alright, now with all that aerial firepower smashing the remnants on the command of General Tempest Wind should be pretty simple. Yes, indeed it is. Well, that went easily enough. Nice, nice, nice. Good job, Sturmiegers. Very good job indeed. And now that Abwehrkommando is back up again, we can start... Where are we going next? Luna del Compstello. Are you my friend? I think you are, but you're currently occupied by not friend. Yes, very much so, not friend. One naval landing operation successful, only 500 million left to go. Good start. Good start indeed. Oh, speaking of, so I came across something interesting in our super secret collaborator Discord the other day, population growth, yes, where Sargon posted an interesting thing. So one of the creators of Fallout, apparently, stated that the point of Fallout was not to critique, was not to be a critique of capitalism. Which one of these are even correct now? I know that one has a negative backlash. And I know it doesn't give me a point. So... At least I'm fairly sure it doesn't give me a point. For 90 days.
Service guarantees citizenship.
Yeah, I'll take that one. So I'm pretty sure the other one doesn't really give me anything particularly worthwhile or useful. Il Uanas, hey Arch, try out the new Powerwolf song, Joan of Arc. It sounds like a Sabaton wrote it. It's fun. Witcher. Thank you. We are still running Witcher and the Snoot game at the moment. The Witcher will continue to run for the next 5 months, of course. Basically until the next year. The Snoot game, we'll see. It's not gathering a lot of attention, so maybe we won't bother with Snoot game. Maybe, we'll see. Advanced transports plane, 208 of those. Good. It would be very nice to get paratroopers up and running in the not too distant future, as that's going to make these naval actions a hell of a lot easier. How is my... bad. Bad is my naval superiority there. Absolutely fucking atrocious is my naval superiority there. Okay, then. Speaking of, I'm going to need some more egg layers. I'm going to need... Fuel mine. That was once. I'm going to need... Probably not 100, no, that's a bit much, but give me at least like another 20 egg layers, because... God... They took a lot more casualties than I was hoping for. A lot more casualties than I was hoping for, so... Resume production of egg layers immediately. Alright. Shift. Airstrikes. Operations towards this sector. And if we can just completely and utterly crush them in the air... Perhaps that'll give us enough to get rid of them on the ground, too. Right. Concentrate your patrol activity in the region. As we shouldn't need to worry about being invaded over there. And continue upgrade labors on the Navy. Considering the casualties we've sustained already, I feel like I'm probably going to be needing them. How's the next modern fleet? The new modern battleship fleet is ready for action. Fantastic. Get that heading down there to resume strike force duties immediately. Now, are you just a little bit retarded, are you? Hey guys, get back to strike force. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. I don't think I've read these, so let me read these too then, I suppose. That's relating to what? The deep infiltration? Yes, deep covered infiltration. Okay. Morning Frost stepped out her front door and rocked back and forth on antsy hooves, feeling a nerve's energy running through her body. What she'd seen and heard last night had left her both scared and filled with a righteous energy to strike back at the bugs that had taken her country from her. She doubted she'd ever be able to push the resistance leader's words out of her mind. The only way to take back Equestria was to make the bugs hurt at every step they took, until they had had enough and pulled back. Even timberwolves knew not to stick their muzzles where it hurt. The changelings would learn that lesson in a few days. Morning, morning, the mare jumped at her name, but she soon calmed down when she realized it was just her elderly neighbor, Patches. The old stallion gave her a look as if he knew something was wrong, and he stepped closer to the fence that separated his property from hers. Something on your mind, Morning? You were out last night. I hope you're not getting involved in anything those hooligans are planning. Despite the elderly pony's kind demeanor, Morning Frost felt herself bristle. They're not hooligans, Patches, she informed him matter-of-factly. They're the only ponies trying to make a difference out there, and I am going to help them stick it to the bugs when they come through town in that big convoy of theirs tomorrow. Patches frowned at her. Morning, you're getting caught up in things you'd best off stayed out of. You're going to get yourself killed, you hear? If I die fighting the bugs, then so be it, she said, scowling back at him. Some ponies gotta be willing to lay down their lives to stop the bugs, and I know it isn't you. Ah, yes. The beauty of youth, and or retardation, depending upon your point of view. The only correct point of view, by the way, is retardation. Again, people will almost always choose... not liberty. Prison. Slavery. Over death. Very, very rarely will anyone ever choose death, if ever, in fact. And usually when they do, it's because they don't know what that means. This is why nations that haven't been at war for a very long time, by the way, can be really, really dangerous nations, because they might be willing to do ridiculous things because they don't understand what they stand to lose. A beautiful day for a neighbor. After leaving Patches behind, Morning Frost spent the rest of the day tending to her garden behind her house, doing her best to put on some semblance of normalcy. It wouldn't be good to be acting shifty in case the bugs came patrolling down her street, but she just had to hold on for today, and then get ready to meet with the rest of the resistance at midnight to start planting bombs. Afternoon, Frost, came a mare's voice, and Morning looked up to see Lily Lilac, a council pony from before the bugs moved into town and disbanded the town council, leaning on her fence. Beautiful day for planting flowers, isn't it? It is a beautiful day, all right, Morning said. It'd be even more beautiful if we could get rid of the damn bugs buzzing around. Lily features slowly turned dour. You're still worrying about the changelings? She asked in a soft voice. You aren't, Morning asked, raising an eyebrow at her. Lily shook her head. I'm upset, she said, but fighting and struggling isn't going to do anything except make this whole thing worse. Everything that the resistance does leads to changelings' reprisals. You haven't forgotten, have you? No, of course not, but we still have to do something. We can't just sit around here and let them beat us down forever. Some days, doing the best we can do may still fall short of what we would like to be able to do. But life isn't perfect on any front, and doing what we can with what we have is the most we should expect of ourselves or any pony else, Lily said. She hopped over the fence and put a hoof on Morning's shoulder. What are they trying to get you to do, Morning? She asked. Morning hesitated, but finally she sighed and bowed her head. We were going to blow up the bridge over the river when the convoy went through tomorrow. Something to stick it to the bugs. Lily slowly nodded. Don't go, she urged, mourning. Radical action doesn't lead to anything except more violence and death. But if we take a middle ground, maybe working things out peacefully with the changelings, things can be better for all of us. That's right, they can be better for all of you if you just submit. Everything will be so much better if you just submit. Speaking of just submitting, strike crews, get your little butts going to support the naval landing upon Les Meridianes, Matra Totratronzia, whatever. Sir Dead Puppy says, how come you never use paratroops in this game? Might be cool to cut off supply points with drops and starve enemy units. Oh yeah, they can be good, but the bigger reason why they're difficult to use is because paratroopers require air superiority. And I will be getting some of them now. In fact, I think, are they already trained? They are, there they are. Right, I'll put them on exercise. They require air superiority, which is very, very difficult to get if you're in any kind of an equal war. If you're up against a generally level opponent, he's probably going to be at the very least able to contest your air superiority, thereby making it impossible to land your paratroopers. So, in most large-scale wars, they're not very useful, which, incidentally, is pretty much the exact same experiences that we discovered in real life as well. Turns out that paratroopers are a neat idea, and when used by a overwhelmingly superior side, like the Americans against the Germans, for example, they can be very effective. But if you're at anywhere even remotely close to parity, you're probably going to have a rather bad time trying to utilize them. I've got some free factories. Okay, let's just get them and then to upgrade weapons then, I guess. Let's see. Nova Graphonia can give me the rest of the metal I need. Please, won't you be my neighbor? The shooting started just before dawn. Waking Morning Frost from her sleep, a staccato cacophony rang out over her town, coupled with distant screams and the thump of heavy munitions. But it was over almost as soon as it started, and it wasn't long before she saw the changeling vehicles rolling down the road, all intact, save for a few fresh bullet holes added to the sheet metal here and there. When she went into town, the news of a failed partisan action was on every pony's lips. As luck would have it, a changeling patrol stumbled across the resistance as they were wiring explosives to the bridge across the river, and a fierce firefight broke out between the two sides. The partisans had been slaughtered almost to the last, and the few prisoners the changelings took certainly didn't have anything to look forward to. But thanks to the actions of the garrison, the bridge had been saved from destruction, and that meant the town could still trade with the rest of Equestria and the hegemony. Life could continue as normal. When Morning Frost came home that afternoon, she shut the door behind her and slumped down against the wall. If it hadn't been for Lily Lilac's cautioning words, she would have been amongst the ponies massacred at the bridge. She'd narrowly escaped a brush with death and didn't know it until after the fact. And now she was grateful for her neighbors. Forget the resistance, it was a doomed cause. But at least now she'd escaped with her life. And maybe could make a difference in another way. And maybe should. Just as Lily had recommended, and make her neighborhood a peaceful and happy place in these troubling times. I agree. You really should strive for increased harmony in this regard. You really should. It makes everything all the better. Incidentally, this is how you need to carry out anti-insurgency operations, by the way. There are two key things you need for successful anti-insurgency operations. The first is the stick. And the stick needs to be large, and the stick needs to be aggressive. I also need to remember to actually bring over bombers here. Let's shift over 300 bombers. As otherwise, this is going to take way too long and cost way too much. There we go. A little bit of carousel bombing takes care of that a hell of a lot quicker and a hell of a lot easier. The stick needs to be very large. The stick needs to be so massive that it gives a very clear message to anyone who thinks of trying to mess with the stick. And the stick is, of course, reprisals. Whenever there is a counter, dominant action, the dominant force, the occupiers, need to make massive reprisals. Like the Germans did. You kill one of ours, we are just going to kill 100 of you. Because this does send a very, very clear message to the rest of the resistance that if you do something silly, there are going to be consequences. And those consequences are probably going to be so vast as to make the action itself seem unjustifiable. You need to make people afraid of the resistance as much as they are afraid of the occupiers. Now, this is difficult, mind you, because it sounds easy enough, right? Oh, of course you're going to do that. But absolute brutality without an aim can be as detrimental as too little of it. See, there's a very careful and a very difficult balance that one needs to achieve between enough brutality to send a message and enough mercy to also encourage for one to submit. You can't simply just keep hitting somebody over the head indefinitely. Sooner or later, they are going to be sick of the abuse, the beaten dog analogy. And considering our real-world situation, we should all have taken the beaten dog one to heart at this point. So, you need to provide incentivization programs. You need to provide ways to actually reward those who get in line with the program and demonstrate a willingness to get on side. See, the Soviets failed in Afghanistan because all the Soviets were one big stick. And the Americans failed in Afghanistan, and Iraq incidentally as well, because all they were one big carrot. It's not a question of one or the other, it's about applying both skillfully. Something that nobody's really quite figured out yet, which is kind of amusing because in Vietnam, the Americans were pretty much right there. Alright, let's try the other one, because I know the Finnicus one doesn't give me a point, so I'm going to see if the other one gives me a point per chance. See, in Vietnam, the Americans had actually kind of happened upon the correct formula with the Green Berets. What the Green Berets would do they would set up a base of operations in an area. Once they had this base of operations set up, they would in essence be just camping out there for a very long period of time. They would live there in essence, and they would be living alongside the local populace. This meant that whenever the locals were like, oh, the Viet Cong are bothering us, can't you do something? They wouldn't go like, oh no, I'm sorry chaps, that's just not policy or something. No, they would actually go deal with it. Basically, whenever the locals were exposed to the bully of the Viet Cong, the bigger bully of the United States government would come in and go, hey, stop that. We're gonna bomb your shit now for fucking weeks at a time. Cease. Alright, is there any... Yeah, I'm not getting through there frontally, am I? I don't think so. Okay, let's get you back and let's get some tanks over there. We'll move in the 3 first panzers of the 1st Panzer Armee and the naval landing detachments. Well, is there another port here somewhere, perchance? There is. Well, I know where the next naval landing operation is going to be happening then, don't I? Yes, I do indeed. There you go. This gave the locals a defense against the Viet Cong, as whenever the Viet Cong would fuck with them, the Green Berets would fuck with the Viet Cong. Nice and simple, extraordinarily effective. And it rewarded the villagers, as the villagers would be given advantageous treatment over other villagers who weren't as cooperative. They would be given access to walls. They would have American engineers building houses for them. They would be given advantageous access to aid material. All of this thing. It was a great trade for them. The Viet Cong offered them nothing except violence and scare tactics, whereas the Americans were not only there to protect them, they were also there to give them shit. But for reasons of political ineptitude, this program was actually cancelled in favor for a larger scale conventional military offensive against the Viet Cong, which of course famously ended in absolute failure because the Americans could move into a place and they could kill 5,000 Viet Cong and lose like 5 Americans, but it didn't matter because there were a hell of a lot more than 5,000 Viet Cong out there. And every time they did it, they created even more Viet Cong by catching some unfortunate rando in the crossfire. It just wasn't an effective strategy. Robbleg623. Justice without force is useless, and force without justice is tyranny. Conrad Curse is also a good example. Oh yeah, absolutely. You gotta work in both. One without the other is worthless. Oh well. I'm sure our navies, our militaries will eventually learn this very obvious lessons that most others already figured out in the fucking medieval ages. See, the Crusaders figured this shit out. The Crusaders understood that to get a good relationship with the Arabs they occupied, they needed to give them a carrot every now and then. Every time they smacked them with the stick, they then also needed to extend the carrot of trade, for example, or protection, or special privileges, like allowing them to carry out their own little worshipful prayers on occasion. Over a barrel. Am I 1 point away now? I am 1 point away from promote compliance. Oh god. I really do want that one. I don't remember if any of these gave it to me. I think maybe the one is the last one I ever get. I'm a little worried about that. A little worried indeed. Very worried. Very, very, very worried. Okay, so we're gonna finish it up with the Changeling Guard, and so we'll just do the rest of these first. And then we'll do that one, because I'm pretty sure I know how to keep Second Wind alive now. I'm relatively sure. We're going to be finding out. How goes the preparation for the naval landing? Almost finished. Okay. As soon as you're done, set out on that, and let's get the new... the modern fleet's actually busy repairing a little bit. Okay. The old bombardment fleet, then. Off you go. The US just needed to, see, it's one of those funny things. So right now, we are in a period of history where we have kind of adopted the full doctrine of the expert, right? We have made the expert our Bible. The whole, listen to the experts thing. Oh, hello there. Oh, okay. Apparently, our allies already managed to break through the front lines, which is nice, and that leaves them all shattered and easy targets for the naval landing. Well, that was one fuck of a 1-2 punch, wasn't it? I wish I could say I'd planned that out, because that was a really, really good maneuver, but I think, unfortunately, that was just really, really, really good luck on my behalf. Still, I'll happily take credit for it, of course. Alright, we are working our way very nicely forwards. Yep, resume strike force operations. Finish off the last few little bursterly shits on the island. Tempest winds. Another loss for you, I'm afraid, my dear. Sorry about that. Okay, air bases. Air bases aplenty. And start expanding the port as well. Oh, and radar too. No slots available. 0. Oh, it's too small of an island to have a radar base on it. Well, oh wait, oh, hold on. This gets an air base. Okay. Start building. Level 5, no, level 5 port? No, level 1 port. Yes, that's actually kind of garbage. Upgrade that, please. And good job, allies. You've helped me out today. You've proven yourself valuable assets to the Changeling cause. Expect your rations of biscuits to be increased. Possibly. Maybe. There's a possibility you may get extra biscuits. There is also a possibility you will not receive extra biscuits. Bear that in mind as well. Right, strike force in those areas. And can I shift something over? I hope so. I'm going to need that airbase up and running earlier, sooner rather than later. As I am not going to be able to reach that, I don't think. No, I am not.
Fire is the answer.
Right. Put in place ground strike assets. And let's try leapfrogging the heavy... No, not the heavies, the... Yeah, I can't reach that. Alright, we definitely need to get further ahead then. Well, 100 mixed tactical bombers is not going to present too much of a danger to my ground attackers, so... Unconditional love. Oh yeah, I read that one. Revive war production. Muller Potkeeter. Rome also got it down proper. They conquered you and suddenly you had access to roads and infrastructure. Then came the ungrateful Goths to ruin it all. Oh yeah, no, the Romans got it down even better. They basically kind of did what the Green Berets did. Because the Roman doctrine of giving conquered lands to veterans was brilliant. It meant that now you had a live-in population of veteran troops with combat experience who probably all knew each other from the same legion, etc., living in an area amongst the local populace. They would obviously, you know, do things like build little fortresses to take care of themselves and their families. They'd organize local city watchers and militias, and they would spread Roman culture as well, vitally. The Romans did something very, very clever, where they would make Roman culture in and of itself something to be rewarded and admired. They made Roman culture cool, basically, aimed at the younger generations. They're doing what the communists are trying to do today, to the point where even the most barbaric warlord would eventually have his sons and daughters showing up at home in Roman garb, and he'd be like, "How can you wear that? Don't you know what they did to our people?" And the son would just like, "Dad, don't you know? Our people were like savage barbarians and shit. We lived in mud huts, Dad. We waged war against our neighbors for shits and giggles, Dad. Lucellus has told me all about it. God. Just let me live my life, Dad." Fucking worked brilliantly. Cultural imperialism. It's another one of those things that we really needed to do, and you know, the worst part is, the West has already done all the hard labor of establishing cultural imperialism. America is the, by far, dominant cultural hegemon of the world at the moment. American culture is Western culture. It would be facile to start exporting that en masse to any country we damn well want. The only problem is, we are fucking hamstrung at every turn by the tenets of liberalism. That is the thing that constantly fucking undermines us. That is why we cannot simply approach China and go, "Right, so, we don't like what you're doing here, stop, or else." Or simply just dominate them via culture by going, "Okay, we're gonna export every single American movie to you. We are going to set up fucking broadcast antennas on Taiwan, okay? We are going to fill the airwaves so that a fucking ham radio can pick our shit up. We are going to make goddamn audio drama versions of Rambo 3, okay? And we are going to broadcast that shit at you loud and clear every single hour of every single day until there's not a single Chinese person left in China. We could do that, but we don't, because we have the precepts of liberalism, where we think to ourselves, oh no, all cultures are beautiful. We can't do that. That's what they are doing. They're spreading their cultural propaganda. We are so much better than the Chinese. We could never. And that's why we lose. Cultural dominance is what we need. Cultural dominance is what we should aim for, both in terms of its effectiveness, obviously, but also out of just simple morality and ethics. Our ways are better than the ways of China, and we need to finally get the sheer, well, the balls to accept and understand that, which is what we're currently struggling with. Right, start bombing the shit out of all shipping in that area. Start strangling them out as we move in regular infantry to take over combat operations from the sea landing divisions. Damn, they are, they really want this island back, huh? Jesus. My God, you really, really want this island back. Okay, well, that's fine by me, really, as I'm just gonna, you know, shift some infantry in there. And, begin shifting out these to land behind you and screw you over yet again. Interfering with our movements a little bit, little bastards. Not to fear. It looks like the Navy's beginning to establish some pretty damn decent naval superiority here, so we should be able to move freely. Not too long, much longer. Alright, Abwehr Commando. Get ready to set up another naval landing. In fact, our allies are already attempting to carry one out with mountaineers. Okay. Aggressive and optimistic. I'm gonna send you all the bombing support I can, but invading a mountain province and invading a coastal province is not actually the same thing. The skill set you need for one is not really the same as you need for the other, by and large. But hey, you do your thing. You do you. And helicopters. I do need helicopters by now. The recovery racket. Supplementary love synthesization. How's the getting better, but still not exactly great. I am doing yes, brutal oppression. Brutal oppression, please. Brutal oppression, yes. We've still got plenty of love, so I don't need to risk the wrath of the locals yet for more of it. Alright, Falshim. Can I mark this? I can't. Falshim Jäger Commando. Do I have any Falshim experts? I probably don't. No, I probably do not. Commando. Do I have any... I do. Thrax, my armored officer. Okay. Right, Thrax, consider yourself my Fallschirmjäger, Commander. Good fucking luck. You're going to need it. Right, you are definitely going to need it. And let's deploy some 500 transport aircraft to the region. That'll allow us to drop neatly behind enemy lines whenever we wish to do so. And this is going to be one hell of a pocket, one hell of an interesting little pocket too. Right, the rest of the Sea Landung divisions are done. Let's get them down to the shore. You know, the Germans actually had plans to try and invade Britain, you know? They came up with a design for a amphibious panzer and everything. They were even doing drills in Operation Sea Lion, but they never got to the point where they were comfortable with initiating it. Largely because they determined that one thing was absolutely necessary for any naval invasion of England, and that was, well, naval superiority indirectly, but more pressingly, air superiority. Because with air superiority, they reckoned that they could probably achieve naval superiority by simply just sinking anything that approached the channel. And it probably would have worked out. If they had achieved naval superiority and then simply camped the channel with hundreds upon hundreds of Stuka dive bombers, I don't imagine the Royal Navy would really have had much of an opportunity to try and intervene. Even if they'd mobilized absolutely everything, they would have just gotten Midway to fucking back, as literally thousands of Stukas with 500-pound bombs were diving down on them. It probably would not have worked out very well for them at all. It would have worked out for them absolutely awfully, I'm pretty sure. But that is, of course, where Goering came in to ruin things for the Germans yet again. By and large, if you want to find a man who's truly responsible for most of the things that went wrong for the Germans, Goering. Goering is your man. Goering just could not stop for even a single solitary instance of getting in the way of everything. Because after the Brits bombed Berlin, Hitler got into a little bit of a fit. It was like, those goddamn British, we're gonna bomb London, we're gonna teach them a lesson by bombing London. And Goering was like, yeah, mein Führer, of course, we can bomb London, we can break the resistance by bombing the Londons. No. Aerial bombing against civilian population targets have pretty much never proved to be successful, and he failed to inform old Hitleruni that if you were to switch the focus of the bombing campaign of Britain right now, which was aimed almost exclusively at British airfield and the fighter command, that was the word, you would severely weaken and you would outright kill, in essence, the attempt to, destroy the Royal Air Force. That was what the Germans were doing, and they were so goddamn close, too. The Germans were, according to the Brits themselves, within 6 months of breaking fighter command. At which point the Germans could have done literally anything they wanted. I suppose at the end of the day it was for the better that the Germans didn't manage it, but poor little Germans. They were so close. They probably still would have lost to the Soviets, mind you, but hey. At least then we would have had Operation Sea Lion, which would have been kind of funny. A major sea landing operation that relied almost entirely on just boats, basically, little dumbass boats moving towards the enemy shorelines, and pure air cover. Lots of air cover, mind you, but still pretty much just air cover. And then the question of how would they have occupied England, of course. That's another interesting one, as the English were, of course, planning to resist with anything and everything they had, which wasn't necessarily much at that particular point in time, mind you. Right, so let's see if I remember how to do multiple naval landing operations. Alright, so let's launch them out of Summer Island here. And... do I need to bother with the smaller islands? Yes, let's. Let me bother with the smaller islands, actually. And... right, and then... right, is that how that works? 6 divisions. 6 divisions. Right, yeah, that's how that works. Beautiful, brilliant. Because I'm going to need the air bases. Even if nothing else, I'm going to need air bases. Lots and lots and lots and lots of air bases. There were even, I shit you not, there were programs where the British population were being trained to craft spears out of metal piping. Okay? Spears. Just welding a bayonet into a hollow metal tube to use as weapons against the Germans. The Germans' panzers, etc. An optimistic approach, a very, very, very optimistic approach. The Sten gun as well was produced partially as a result of this, as the British finally realized that, oh shit. Man, this whole SMG thing is really, really useful. Maybe we should look into guns that fire multiple bullets or something. Maybe that'd be clever. Who knows? And eventually they would. And the Sten gun was one of the stopgap measures of producing guns that could fire multiple bullets at a time. A complete and utter rush job, but it was designed to be as cheap and cheerful as humanly possible because the British had lost an enormous amount of material at Dunkirk. They had, by the slimmest of margins, managed to get most of their men out. Or, well, slimmest of margins. Slimmest of margins and most generous of, German incompetences. Again, Goering with his whole like, oh, don't worry, mein Führer, I can totally crush the filthy little allies in Dunkirk with just my Luftwaffles, yeah. Don't worry about it, I'll take care of it all. He failed, of course. Goering continued to promise a lot of things. Goering promised that he would be able to continue to supply the Germans in Stalingrad. Stalingrad? I will never get over saying Stalingrad. It's baked into my fucking DNA now, and that's just how that's gonna have to be, I'm afraid. And he failed. He said he could level London, and he failed. He said that no Allied planes would ever be seen over Berlin, and he failed. Goering was just not very good at his job. That was the problem. Goering was apparently a very fine fighter ace, and I have no particular reason to doubt his achievements in the First World War, but it turns out that one's ability to fly an aircraft and one's ability to command large numbers of aircraft, well, the two are not necessarily one and the same. Right, now we need to get started on super heavy battleships. Yes. Super heavy armor. Super heavy armor. Super heavy batteries. Super heavy everything. Super heavy Oh, really now? Okay, the super heavy battery, 3552. Super heavy missile, 50, 25, 50. So less heavy attack, but a ridiculous increase in light attack. Heavy piercing, 52. Heavy piercing, 50. Jesus, okay, well, I want to use this for shore bombardment, so I'm thinking a solid 9 super heavies, 50. Oh, shit. A 50, I was about to say 400mm batteries. No. These are 9 501mm batteries. 51 centimeters. This is 9 railway cannons. Sweet baby Jesus. Okay, throw on some missile batteries as well. Why the fuck not at this point? Yeah, sure. Let us make this weapon that just blots out the sun. Right, okay. Why not make it... Why not make it more? Why not make it 12? Yes. The Yamato on crack. So this is clearly going to have to be the Chrysalis class. My god. Monsters? Yeah, I think monsters will be the appropriate name for this thing. Right, 2 of those, please. Two of the uber massive ones. And do I have... Oh yeah, these were still training. Okay, let's get those up there. 2 of those, please. You're gonna cost quite a lot of resources, aren't you? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are very much so going to cost a ferocious amount of resources. It's fine by me. And... I kinda just also want... a nice smaller thing. Yes, a smaller thing. A nice little heavy missile battery boat. Lots of heavy attack, lots of light attack, you know, just for absolutely ass-munching an infinite amount of happy little enemy destroyers. Yes. And more anti-air just to make sure if the enemy brings any sort of carriers, we are just going to swipe them out of the fucking sky. Harmonic Drive. I largely stopped being interested in history, German and otherwise, because it makes me sad to be the doormat in all the stories. At least we've had early wins. At least you did. At least you did. And that's nice, isn't it? That is nice. So the previous one was the supremacy. Dominance. You know, that sounds like something a retarded Chrysalis would say, so yes, Dominance class. And give me 3 of those. Right, that should give me enough anti-air to pretty much laugh at anything and everything anybody can send towards me. And we're gonna need some jet aircraft. Right, what, deck size of 100 a pop? That way, if we bring 2 of them, we'll have plenty. Dual purpose batteries? Nah, don't worry about that. Just radars, AA, dual purpose secondaries, and cruiser armor. I don't think we need to really worry about, oh, no more naval experience. Gosh, godly diddly dog dang it. Right, well, I still got a lot of boats that need training, don't I? Yes, yes I do. Get to it. Oh, the next generation of spotters are almost done, actually. Nice. That should give me plenty of naval experience pretty quick. Ah, the poor little goymans. Poor little goymans. They just wanted to be goyman, but over a larger area. I don't see what's so wrong with that. Doesn't everybody want to be goyman, but over a larger area? Oh, I forgot about the helicopters. Yes, start researching helicopters. Those are going to be useful. Very much so. Will it float? No, I don't think so. I genuinely see Queen Guys wants him so badly. Yep. Well, yeah, sure, yeah, I want it. We're just gonna give the Queen's Guard everything they want from now on. Nice and simple, really. Right, and they have equine life. Oh, haven't I? Oh, that's a really good upgrade, though. I do miss that one. 6th grade hive and anchorage. God, I think I'm still gonna be like 1 point short of promote compliance and collaboration, I think, which is a little bit painful in my mind. I hope I can get one more of them out. Oh, you've already captured that. Well, thank you. Very, very nice of you. I guess I'm going to be... Yep, they just storm ashore screaming, guns barraging, fires blazing. There's a bunch of changeling collaborators on the shore just welcoming them in with a little Mai Tai. Like, hey, you're late. It's like, oh. We got her as first as we could, though. Well, not fast enough, as it turns out. One more island. All right. Keep building air bases. We are going to need a lot of them. All right, I guess we're invading this next then. Very well. You know the drill at this point. Begin planning the operations. Remove you. And we'll hit both of them, because I'm feeling confident in my abilities at this point. And maybe we can even... How do you even set up... paratroop orders. Right, okay. So we're going to paradrop you from here. And in support of the naval landing operations, right behind them there. We are going to need air superiority in the region, but hopefully I can shift forward. Artemis Fowl, name it Queen's Monster for the supermassive ship. The Queen's Monster. Oh, but Chrysalis is already pretty much the Queen's Monster, though, isn't it? Okay, fine. I'll name it the Queen's Monster. We do value capitalism in these parts, after all. It's not outdated, chat. There you go, Queen's Monster. We know. The Lebensraum Generalplan. Yep, we are going to be building an Aikenage this time, safety. And I am going to need a bit more metal. Luckily, I am occupying a huge portion of the world. We will going to play it safe. So additional resources is not as big of a concern as it might at first seem. Although, even with all of that, I still don't have enough chromium. Boy, that is a lot of chromium required. All right, let's take some out of the advanced medium tanks, because I don't really need those. And out of the Queen's Guard's heavy tanks too. And the H-Classer. Right, it still gives me a deficit of chromium, but it's better. It's a lot better. Dock landing ships, that will be useful. And advanced submarine nonsense. Come on, I want to build submarines. What was I doing? Yes, I was trying to figure out if I had the coverage for fighters. Right, I maybe do. Right, let's move 900 of our fighters over there. No, that puts them at a very weird area, but good enough for government work. Dedicate a couple hundred to keep law and order here. That's the only place I can put them, isn't it? Gosh darn it. Alright, well, transfer the ground attackers first. They're going to be the most useful immediately. And poor little... You don't have anywhere to operate from, do you? No, at the very least not well or effectively. Right, well, we'll continue building air bases there, and we'll get something resembling a forward operating space. Kind of. That is going to be a ridiculously heavily overcrowded island, but that too is fine. Yes, we're going to have a massive spat of accidents as one aircraft crashes into the other, but such is life, and you're just going to have to deal with it, as are all of us just going to have to deal with it. Preparations almost complete. You two are ready to go whenever we need you. Lovely. And the remnants of the enemy's battleships fleets that are apparently being smacked in port there. Fantastic. Why are you training? You are not supposed to be training. There's practically nothing left of you, but what left there is, move over there. As soon as this is actually done, we can start getting in the next wave of clearance vessels, which will hopefully allow us to establish more dominance. But oh hey! Oh right, that's how they got down here. That's the previous colonies of the Carthaginian Empire. Okay, the remnants of Beolini's once glorious carcass, I'm afraid. Poor little Beolini. He did not deserve his fate, I maintain, but God is not gentle, God is not kind. God will step on Beolini as it steps on everybody else. Right, unicorn blues it is. We can cancel that one, I think. When are you going to start the landing? As I'm pretty sure the aircraft will reach there nice and quick, so I want to be hitting the beaches before I activate the paratroopers. There we are. Right, send in the paratroopers. There we are. Okay, they arrive pretty much instantly. Nice. Oh, well, let's smash that garrison. Good job, everyone. Not the most complex, challenging, or difficult operation you've ever been exposed to, granted, but hey. The simple fact that it was easy does not diminish the heroism of assaulting enemy beaches. One of the bloodiest, if not the single bloodiest, military operation anyone is capable of carrying out. Right, does that finally put me within striking distance of the main enemy colonies then? At the very least, it gets me a lot closer. Right. Maximum airfield level. Oof. God, I'm gonna have to do this without air support now, aren't I? Yes, I think I am. Alright, well, upgrade the ports at least then. That's going to be a lengthy leap over to the United Kingdom of Ares, under the command of this fish pony thing called Queen Skystar. Lovely. Right. We'll wait for the next stage of the Navy to be ready before we head over there. Glossarius Sicarius, the Butcher of Salt Lake City. Ooh. Well, that's a pretty good name. Reports have reached us of the situation in Salt Lick, of course, City, this afternoon. For the past months, the Heir has been conducting anti-partisan actions in and around the city, a known Solarist stronghold, full of ponies who see Celestia not only as their princess, but their goddess. Salt Lake City has been a hotbed of resistance to our rule ever since it was occupied. Recently promoted to a command within the Queen's Guard, Oberst Glossius Sicarius has been dispatched to the city to oversee counterinsurgency operations. Pushing a doctrine of no quarter for all those who oppose our Queen's rule, Oberst Sicarius demanded that all partisans leaders inside of the city surrender to the Changeling garrison within 12 hours, before declaring the entirety of the city centre to be hostages of the Heir, the lives of which were to be forfeit if the Harmonic Resistance failed to comply. His ultimatum refused. General Sicarius withdrew all Changeling soldiers from the city centre before blockading the main thoroughfares and immediately began shelling it with heavy artillery stationed in the suburbs. The indiscriminate shelling continued for several hours straight. Civilian casualties are expected to be in the hundreds, if not thousands, and the damage to the city itself is expected to be immeasurable. The Oberst's shelling only ended when his counterparts in the Heir refused to deliver more ammunition to Sicarius's guns. Much of Salt Lake City lies in ruins, with block after block having been systematically leveled by volley after volley of high explosive shelling of the partisan forces still remaining inside of the city. Some had tried to surrender to the Queen's Guard to spare Salt Lake City more damage, but a number had managed to break through the blockade, aided and abetted by the locals, and the territories around Salt Lake City have now risen up in arms as information about what had transpired spread. Even certain generals inside of the Heir have demanded Sicarius be immediately demoted or at least face disciplinary review, a motion which the Queen's Guard has stepped in to vehemently oppose, a motion which the claim that Sicarius is the epitome of a loyal and zealous Changeling soldier. When asked for a comment, General Sicarius only remarked that all the ponies inside of that disgusting city are traitors, every last one. My only regret is that the Heir didn't give me enough shells to finish the job. Good boy. Do you have any comments on all of the civilians you've killed? I've never killed a single civilian. I've only killed harmonists. We are going to crush the unicorns this time, which makes me a little sad, because personally I quite like the unicorns. I like their idea of enforced racial supremacy. It appeals to me on a deeply personal level. But I don't think it gives you a point, and so I want a point. So we're going to pick the other one, tragic though that may be. Unfortunate and sad. The Hotel California. General Major Yax made his way to the top of the nearby radio station, where the building's tall roof afforded him the perfect vantage point to observe the operation about to take place several blocks down the street. Oberstleutnant Aklipp accompanied him, along with a signal corps detachment and a bevy of radios to keep them appraised of the battle about to transpire. On the street below, several companies of changelings set out from their muster points, marching down the streets towards the suspected headquarters of the Cornucopia Society, the Hotel California. After turning down the Society's invitation, Yax had analysed the map of the area surrounding the intersections of Bitt Street and Bridle Avenue, and come to the conclusion that the opulent but still shuttered hotel would have made the perfect headquarter for resistance cells operating directly under his muzzle. Infiltrators had confirmed pony activity at the supposedly vacant building, and that had been all the assurance Yax needed to give the operation the go-ahead. Now his soldiers would have to seize the hotel and bring back any assets they could find inside. But before they could do that, they first had to reach the hotel. Before the companies were halfway to the destination, glass shattered amidst a cacophony of gunfire breaking out along the street. The soldiers dispersed, diving for cover wherever they could find it, as the tall buildings on either side of the street erupted with insurgent gunfire. Aklipp turned to give Yax a worried look, but the General Major kept his eyes focused on the street below. There was nothing they could do now but except watch and wait. And I suppose we should pacify Ponyville as well, as pointless that as it is. Without missing a beat, the changeling soldiers split into two groups. The first group rushed to enter the nearby buildings, battering down doors and breaking through windows before storming inside, whilst the second group took wing and gave them covering fire before getting onto the rooftops and securing the high ground. Gunfire flashed behind dusty windows as the soldiers and the partisans engaged in close quarters combat. And though the ponies had defensible ground to hold, the changeling soldiers were drilled, disciplined, and moved as one solid unit. Building by building, room by room, Yax's counterinsurgents cleared out the resistance, boldly advancing through the relentless onslaught of machine gun and mortars. Even without armor support, the changelings were simply too much for the partisans, and the ponies began to fold in on themselves as their defensive lines broke. It felt like an eternity, but soon the changeling fire brigades were on the footsteps of the Hotel California. After securing their positions and readying charges to breach the exterior, the units moved up as one to gain entrance. But before they could, a chorus of explosions erupted from the base of the hotel, and the entire structure began to list as its foundations gave way. Changeling soldiers fled as fast as they could as the rubble came crashing down, and soon the 8-story building turned into an avalanche of concrete and mortar sweeping down the street. The terrible rumbling seemed to shake the whole city, and a cloud of dust rose up in the air, dry and suffocating. Alclip covered her astonished muzzle, whilst Yax watched in disbelief, and when the dust finally settled, no trace of the Hotel California was left. Finally, Yax turned to the radio operator at his side. "Start recalling the units and get search and rescue to sift through the rubble for any Ling missing," he ordered. "The day's over." The radio operator did as he was told, and Yak simply watched the settling dust as his soldiers limped away from the carnage. They'd won, but the hotel had been completely destroyed. Whatever Yak might have had for learning more about Korikobi Sicarius is gone for good now. Not that it mattered much, another resistance cell was destroyed, and the queen would be safe to venture to Canthalot for her grand coronation. And, yep, I fucking knew that would give me a point in suppression resistance instead of the one I wanted. I'm gonna be left with like 2 points short again. I have no idea where those points are, am I? We can scale back production of those a little bit, and we can definitely scale back production of advanced transports. Yep, and we're gonna go through a lot of bombing there. Now, what I would like to do as well is continue larger scale production of half-tracks, as armored units will of course be the future of warfare in Equestria, or more correctly, in Griffonia, once I get over there. Alright, what can we free up? Basic ones, we can free up these. Free up that, free up that. That's just about good enough. Right, we don't need quite as much in the way of metal anymore. So let us ease the burden on our subordinates, so that they will be less complaining in the long run. Right, helicopters done. We still have quite a while for improved scout helicopter and attack helicopters, but we can now get started on the armor. Heavy tanks. An earth-shattering kaboom. A kablooey, if you will. Pointless, of course. Utterly and completely pointless, but I could have told you that already. Right, those are the ASWs. They're not the most valuable. Those are the spotters. The spotters are valuable, so let's get those organized. And you can go down to mining command and resume mining duties. Oh boy, lots of windows. Alright, main battle tank. Switch that over to Sirius Mustang Enterprises. Engines, also Sirius Mustang. And armor as well, Sirius Mustang. Right, spotters. Is there anything left of what was one spotting command? Yes, not much, but there's something over there still. Right, you can retire those. There. That is a much more doughty and hearty spotting command, I do believe. How are the ports going? Not amazingly well, but not dreadfully either. Right, move over the new ones. I feel like I am going to stretch the industrial and logistical capabilities of these areas to the absolute fucking breaking point with the Navy alone. But when in need, the devil ate flies and all that. Right, you can seize mining operations there. What are you? You are ASW. Okay. Aufklärungskommando. Begin patrolling. Begin patrolling Sea Pony Coast and the surrounding areas. And supported ably so, of course, by the strike forces. A proposal for the Queen. Alright, since they're just turning it into a giant concrete effigy, yes. I remember. Right, move over the naval bombers, and surely there shouldn't be that much more stuff to naval bomb in this area at all. And Sea Pony Coast, yeah, this is going to be out of support range for pretty much everything, I'm afraid. Oh boy. Alright, taking that is going to be uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. At least it looks sparsely defended. Okay. Right, 6 of you are going to assault the port itself. The other 6 will start a Mulberry Harbor operation to land behind the enemy. And hopefully that will be enough. Do I need that? No, I don't need that, but I do need lights. Good. Ooh, still 1 point short. Pacify Ponyville, I don't think gives me anything. Maybe ending the war gives me something? I don't think so. Castle, sweet castle. Yep, no points there. Hunt for the Witch. Let's do that one too. And the Bad Apple. I'm pretty sure the Bad Apple doesn't give me any points either. Right, how's my naval superiority? Not incredible, but probably doable. They're attacking me too, aren't they? Yes, they are. Oof. Yep, I cannot reach that area either, so I'm just gonna have to fucking suck it up and get bombed for a bit. Not fun, not engaging, not good. But I did prioritize anti-air fairly heavily, so cross one's fingers and pray and hope. That is all one can do in these situations. More armor. Alright, I need to return to producing actual bomby stuff, otherwise I'm not going to have any weapons to actually mount on my new fancy things. Should have gone with modern anti-air before I upgraded the rest of the boats, I suppose, but meh. Not the worst thing. And speaking of boats, I do need to design more ships, don't I? Right, you are 16, good. Right, shift you over there. Can use you to reinforce the second most modern battleship army. And let's get some carriers on the way. Jet aircraft carriers. carrying a grand total of 100 happy little aircraft. This was one of the big problems with the early aircraft carriers, by the way. Jets were simply just usually a hell of a lot bigger than their previous aircraft, so you couldn't have that many of them. That was a big problem. You couldn't fit as many aircraft on it, which obviously decreased the effectiveness of the aircraft carriers. Sea hive, yes. This was solved basically just by making the carriers goddamn larger, in essence, and hey, that worked out relatively well. It's also why we did the whole wire thing, because back in the day, you know, the reason why aircraft carriers had to be as fast as they were because you needed to turn into the wind, and then sail into the wind to actually launch aircraft, because if you didn't do that, you wouldn't have enough air current flowing over the deck to produce enough lift to actually get the aircraft off the carrier. But with a much bigger and heavier fighter jets in general, that was no longer enough, which is why they invented the wire to launch the aircraft into the sky instead of having it merely be lifted up into the sky. Very clever, very clever. Then also they invented eventually the arrestor hook, of course, to make the damn thing stop, too, which was almost as important as getting it off the ground in the first place. Right, what else do I need? I could really use some more spotter things. Yes. Right, let's make a nice little... Oh, can I not, Wait, have I not... Ah, that's what unlocks it. Okay, I need to research these then, because I need scout planes. Yeah, some escort carriers would be lovely. Absolutely lovely. How's the preparations for the invasion going? The preparations are finished. Good. I can't... Yeah, there's no way I'm getting an air landing in there. Right, here goes... nothing. Right, we've got you ready. Let's take you off duty there. And just have you... go in and support that naval invasion. You're going to have to stand off the coast and get bombed for a bit. It's going to be very uncomfortable for you, and it's going to be extraordinarily dangerous for you as well. You know what? Let's send... You know, I've denied Queen Chrysalis everything so far. If she wants to go and try and hunt down Zakura, who am I to stop her? I need to give her at least a little bit of fun, otherwise she's going to be all pissy with me. So sure, Chrysalis, you can go and try and hunt down Zakura in the forest. I know you're gonna get your ass beat, but that's just how that is, frankly. That's just how it's gonna have to be. Right. Prepare yourselves to get fucking bombed a lot. Yes, I know, you're probably already taking... Yeah, you've already taken serious damage. But I'm... you being dumb with me? No. Stay there. I need you to support the landing operations. I know. You're gonna take casualties. That's just gonna have to be how it's gonna have to suck for you. I need your guns. Well, fuck. Naval supremacy dived at the same time. Well, shit. Okay, in that case, you may go back and repair then, I suppose. In fact, let's just put you on naval invasion support, shall we? That way, hopefully, you'll go back and help out as soon as I regain naval superiority in the region. What do you mean I've lost it over here? What? Yeah, you're spotting like you're supposed to do. Good. Is the aircraft maybe not? Okay. I should have more heavy fighters over here, shouldn't I? I'll just split it then, and we'll have... There. Striking both areas. That should be more than enough to re-establish command. Research lots. One bad apple. I did read that one. Keep building modern airplane carriers. We are going to need them. Keep getting more fancy gun stuff. Do we need more fancy gun stuff? I would like modern small cannons, yes. A broken element. Can honesty lie? Yes. Yes, honesty can, as it turns out. And the Changeling of the God, which we now need to try and keep him alive. Which I think I know how to do, but just in case, I think we're gonna save. It is going to suck to take control over this area. Get Mine Layer command over there, actually. Let's see if I can mine lay it into submission. And whilst we're at it, tactical bombers. We'll move you back to Canterlot, and in return... Oh, no, not you. I should have more H-classer. Yes, 200 more of those. Can anything reach over there? Tactical bombers. Tactical bombers? Could the tactical bombers reach over there? Maybe. If I were to move the tactical bombers over there... Okay, they could reach, sort of. Alright, let's get you to port strikes, logistic strikes, whatever you can. And am I building these airfields? I am. Why am I not prioritizing it? I should. There. Trots and Canters, that is a name. If only the Graphonian Empire wasn't sitting so fat and pretty over there. "78 ships, little fucking bastards. If only I could ignore that like the enemy does. 58 ships in the region, and yet my spotters aren't finding anything. Oh. Damn it. Okay, well, I'm gonna need to reload sooner than I thought, because I didn't click anything there, and I know I have to click a specific one. There, and... that one. Otherwise, things go very, 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 very bad. Fin stabilized, nice. Modern anti-tank gun, why not? I see no reason not to have modern anti-tank guns. Or rocket artillery, even though I don't use any of it yet. At least I can mount it on aircraft, right? Hegemon for Canterlot. God, getting bombed into fucking submission kinda sucks. Ah, yes, that's the Castle of Friendship breaking loose again. Alright, so is it ASW? Is that what's screwing with me? Alright, reassign the new ASW ships to ASW command. Let's get rid of the old ones. Actually, we won't get rid of them. We'll just join them into a bigger group. Gilded Chains, I read that one too before I started giving up. Right. Let's see if there's submarines down here. Move everybody down into our version of the Caribbean. I haven't read those two, so I'm going to. I'm just, yeah. God damn it. Convoy escort, convoy raiding, strike force. It would be, what would it even be? How would I get you to do ASW shit? Spotting, I guess. Right. You're spotting vessels now, have fun. Second Wind decided to take his lunch out in town instead of his office that day after a frustrating day of drilling recruits and feeding the changelings propaganda to them. He just needed to get away from it all for a bit. So, taking wing, the Pegasus flew down to one of the lower sections of Canterlot to go to one of his favorite dive bars. At least the bugs were too concerned about making the upper levels look pretty and presentable to bother the small business owners down below them. And so they hadn't confiscated the dinner from its owner, Dinah, and given it to aspiring changeling entrepreneurs instead. He made his way inside and took a seat, greeting the owners. He knew so well from the years before the war. He didn't have to take a menu, sweet, sauté, and her husband knew his usual order by heart. He just sat next to the window and watched the ponies shuffle about the street while he sipped his glass of water. Mind if I join you? The stranger put on a smile as he stood by the seat across from him. Second Wind didn't recognize her, especially not without a mask on, and he wasn't sure he wanted to talk with any pony else, but she was awfully pretty. When was the last time he had a pretty mare asking to join him for lunch? Sure, he said, gesturing to the seat. When she sat down, by the way, be aware of pretty women. Pretty women are almost always evil, and they are almost always trying to do something terrible to you. Trying to bring forth a little bit of that frat cult charm he used to have back in college. It's a shame a pretty filly like yourself keeps her face hidden. Mind if I get a name? Glorissa, I knew it. The mare tossed her mane back and leaned forward. Call me Glorissa, Second Wind. Second Wind blinked in surprise that she knew his name, but Glorissa continued on regardless. I've been wanting to talk to you for some time. Your posting as Commandant of the Canterlot Guard lets you get a lot closer to the changeling higher-ups than any other ponies in the city. Perfect if, say, some pony wanted to do something about a changeling queen visiting the city in a couple of weeks' time. Rarity is evil, and she's trying to be mean to me. Second Wind frowned. You shouldn't be talking about such things, he warned her. I have a duty to stop the resistance wherever I find it. Duty to your changeling masters, sure, Glorissa said, shrugging. Then she put a card on the table in front of him and stood up. But if you have any duty to your country... She winked at him and then disappeared with a swish of her tail. Second Wind picked up the card she left, frowning at it. Her parting words haunting him as he stared at the phone number written on it. Was he a dog faithful serving a master, or an unwilling slave of the regime, like Windbreak? Bad Rarity, bad Rarity, bad! If only Rarity would understand that I am Rarity's friend, we wouldn't need to do all of this nonsense and we could be friends together again, but no. Rarity seems to still think that there is some form of resistance movement or something. Even Rarity apparently doesn't quite manage to catch on to the changing times sometimes. Very tragic, very tragic. The end of the rebellion. Time to watch Chrysalis get humiliated again. The Everfree was no match for the magic of the great queen of the changelings. Her strength amplified from the embodiment of freshly harvested love, Queen Chrysalis hacked a swath of destruction through the diseased heart of the Everfree. Supported by a task force of the Hare's best and brightest, with Chrysalis as its vanguard, the changeling hunters had little difficulty penetrating the ragged and burnt-out foliage to reach the last bastion, where the Zebra Witch herself still hid. A hailstorm of gunfire erupted from the partisans as Chrysalis burst into the clearing, but an ethereal shield protected herself and the bodyguards immediately at her side. Baying like the bloodhounds, the changelings burst... I think you just said that. The clearing, eager to set up upon the smattering of weary and exhausted partisans that had somehow managed to survive the onslaught of the hare. It wasn't even a fair fight. It was more akin to target practice, with the ponies falling to bullet and bayonet as the defenses were quickly overrun. Ooh. Twisting the bayonets, disgusting. Show yourself, witch, Chrysalis roared, ripping apart tent after tent and flinging the debris every which way. Surrender to me and I might let you live. Or don't, that might make it more fun. She closed her eyes and turned her muzzle skyward, drawing in a deep breath to cast a spell. Then, grinning, she turned towards the far corner of the forest and stalked closer like a cat pursuing a cornered mouse. I can taste your fear, Zebra, and it tastes delicious. Her magic seized a hold of the unassuming tent and tore the fabric in two, only to reveal a bomb shaped like Zebrika and humiliating herself. Please, Chrysalis, please, this one time, I believe in you. Don't fail me. Not again. You've failed me so much. This one time, the least you can do is do something good for me. Once is all I'm asking. I'm not greedy. I'm not going to ask you to be, useful on multiple occasions. Just once. The witch fights back. There in the remains of the tent was the zebra herself. She was a pitiful sight. Black ash smeared the lines between her stripes, and her green tribal paint was all but worn away, and burns covered her face, her neck, and her front legs. A sling held her forelegs close to her chest, and her eyes were bloodshot with fever. She'd survived the hare's efforts to destroy the Everfree, but only barely by the looks of it. There you are, Chrysalis purred, her magic seizing Sakura by the throat and pulling her out of the tent. The zebra coughed and struggled, but she was too weak to put up a fight. How the mighty have fallen, Chrysalis taunted her. You've been a pain in my side for too long, you realize, but now I finally have you. You think you have me? The zebra choked out through Chrysalis' grip, but perhaps you should wait and see. Her hoof lashed out at Chrysalis' horn, and the Changeling Queen dropped Sakura at the sudden pain. Chrysalis' bodyguard leapt into action, but Sakura struck her hoof against the ground, and a wall of plunder vines burst forth to cut them off from their queen. It was just Sakura and Chrysalis now, and Chrysalis barred her fangs at the zebra. You cur! I'll have your head! She moved to advance on Sakura. But fast as lightning, Sakura snatched a vial of blue liquid from her sling and hurled it at Chrysalis. The glass broke on her face, and the liquid hissed as it burned through Chrysalis' chitin, leaving the Changeling Queen howling in pain. Then Sakura began to chant in a haunting voice. Chrysalis, 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 not again. Not now. Not one more time, please. Please. Please, Chrysalis. For all time's sake, you were so competent during the war. You were excellent during the war. Why have you fallen so low? Why have you gotten so bad at the things you were once so good at? Why? Why do this to me? Have I not served you faithfully? I'm pretty sure I've done my darndest to help you in every which way I can. Come on, Chrysalis. Come on. The Witch's Curse. Changeling Queen, can't you hear? The collapse of your empire is near. Though you may have won today, we will soon find another way. Everything it is was built on lies, and therein lies the path of its demise. What has been taken we will retake, and in that way the hive shall break. And as for you, Queen Chrysalis, it is time that you listen to this. All will know the mark of your shame, and it will become inseparable from your name. Poison joke magic will scar your face, and take from you what defines your race. No longer shall your ilk command our fright, for daybreak's bright light will put them to flight. No longer shall hives prolong our plight, Equestria will serve no parasite. Chrysalis was in too much pain to respond. Her face felt like it was melting, the chitin plates cracking and drooping as what was in the vial worked its foul magic on them. Gritting her teeth, Zakura spat on the ground before turning tail and fleeing deeper into the deepest, darkest heart of the Everfree. The bastion that had remained untouched and resilient no matter what the hare had thrown at it. The forest seemed to close in after her, trees moving closer together and branches interlocking to form an impenetrable wall. It took almost an hour before the Jaegers were able to break through the plunder Brandywine and reached their queen. In that time, she had fallen unconscious, and nervous whispers passed through the ranks as they called for a medic. Chrysalis. Chrysalis. You truly are a problem for me. You truly are a difficult thing, aren't you? A changeling cannot change. Imagine a form, your majesty, any form at all. Chrysalis growled at the doctor, standing across from where she sat. I am trying, you useless lout, she snapped at him, baring her teeth in frustration. Chrysalis placed her hooves to her face, trying to summon the magic that had been so natural to her all her life. Do be careful, your majesty. The surgeon went to great lengths to repair your face. Too much pressure and you might damage the chitin. Chrysalis wanted to scream at him, but didn't see the point. It had taken all the best surgeon in the hives to fix her face, or at least get it to resemble something like her old safe. After that damn zebra cursed it with her poison joke in that vial, but now they'd be able to fix the real curse placed on her, and that bothered her more than looks ever did, mostly because she couldn't change hers anymore. Still, she did as the doctor asked, and she felt the surge of magic within her erupt in a ring of green fire around where she sat. The pretty pink form of Princess Cadence sat in the mirror, almost perfect, but it wasn't. Her horn was a touch too long, her eyes the wrong shade of blue. Even the gradient of the purple on her wings was off. Why won't it work? Chrysalis howled through Cadence's voice. It's not perfect, it's not right. The doctor cautiously scribbled a few things on his clipboard and tried to give the queen a reassuring smile. But, your majesty, it is perfect. This looks exactly like Princess Cadence, just like when you infiltrated the royal wedding in Canterlot. He hesitated, then added, Your majesty, perhaps Sakura's so-called curse has taken a toll on your mind, not your powers. The witch has tricked you into thinking your transformations aren't perfect, when in fact they are flawless imitations, just as they have always been. Chrysalis sees the doctor in her magic. Liar, she shouted at him. Don't patronize me, they're wrong, I know they are. She threw the doctor through the door and out of the room before abandoning the disguise and returning to her natural form. Sakura, you witch, he screamed, what have you done to me? She did indeed turn out to be retarded yet again. And Zero Firewater. Queen Chrysalis is an L magnet. Wow. Also, Zakura was talking about Daybreak. Imagine if Celestia came back to Changelings, you as Daybreaker, also Nightmare Moon Fund. Well, that would certainly be something. But all I want right now is to finally get in here and take this place. I'm half tempted to start just building long-range fighters, but it'll probably take... Once the mine gets done, I think I'll be able to get in there, maybe? Possibly? Oh boy. Oh boy, indeed. But video game, I was going to do something else for a second instead of reading. I'm going to do something else for a second instead of reading video game, and you can't fucking stop me. Right, I wanted to create a nice scout carrier. Nice little scout carrier with a good amount of AA. In fact, a lot of AA. And 40 hangar space will probably be plenty, yes. 83, that's great. And then if I can... Not as much AA as I was really kind of hoping for. Probably, hopefully, maybe enough. Those will be really, 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 really useful for my spotting ships. And we'll deploy them down here, I think, where we'll have our spotters. And, what, 6 of them? Yeah, 6 of them. 8. Let's make it 8, because I'm going to want the spotting armadas to be pretty damn resilient. Right, then a simple Aufklärer. Couple of dual-purpose... Oh, light missile batteries. Don't mind if I do. Wait, am I still researching? Yes, okay, wait until I get the next type of radar then. Oh boy, alright, hold on. Do I need the dabble in esoteric to get the sweet and elite? Ooh. Does that screw me? I think, do I need that one? I think I might need that one. Do I need that one? Right. Oh no, it's just that it's grayed out for now. Never mind. We didn't start the fire. Truck after truck descend on the shuttered school from the break of day, lining up in the courtyard and waiting to receive the contents of the buildings for safekeeping somewhere else. Second Wind and the Cancelord Guard had been brought down shortly after to keep the curious crowd from getting too close. Any soldiers formed a semicircle around Celestia School for gifted unicorns as the changelings gutted the building of all its valuables. The bugs brought out carts after cart of scientific equipment. I remember this one. I've read this one. This is where he gets like weird and starts calling the resistance people because he's a dum-dum. Ashton Plaza and Beckett.
Fire is the answer.
Ruffling. Oh god, no, I think it is. So if you don't do it, you have to. I think that's another trap. Oh god. The amount of traps in this tree is remarkable. Wait, that means you can't get the coronation at all, though, can you? It does! Oh my god, that is another trap, isn't it? Oh my fucking heavens, it is another trap. Oh my holy shit. That is actually another trap. If you do drain prisoners of war, you have to do dabble in the esoteric. If you do not, then you get boned because you don't get custody of the archives, which means you can never do the coronation, which means the entire focus tree locks itself. God help me, video game, but you truly are a painful little thing. You know that. You know that, right? You know that.
Heresy is the question. Fire is the answer.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Does that bring me back far enough? It does. Okay. Holly. Oh, I hate it. Oh, I hate it. Oh, I hate it so much. Oh. I hate it so much. I hate it so very, very much. So very, very much. I didn't see the trap, and that screws absolutely everything, as it locks you even out of finishing the story. Ah, God. And Spiky, 1996, hey Arch, how much for you to suffer through Dustborn? Also, add both to Witcher Fund. To Witcher Fund, I will add it to Witcher Fund. Dustborn. I saw Dustborn. It looks extraordinarily cringe. I don't know how long it is, but I'm probably gonna say two grand at least, because that looks terrible. It has an opening song lyric where it goes, "We are the rebels, we are the," what was it? "We are the rebels, we are the refugees." Oh boy. That looks like a terrible video game. A truly, truly awful video game. Alright, so with that, I was very close, but I was still lacking 2 points. Even after doing everything as awful as I could, I still lacked 2 points. So you have to take Dabble in the Esoteric. And then you either have to leave or take her drink, I guess. Because that is the only way you get custody of the archive. And then you can get Sweeten and Leave, which you have to have for the coronation. So, with you, that's weird. So, Seattle Protocol. Oh, they seize the Equestrian assets. Prior to the incarnation and intellectuals. Oh, that was another one, was it? Dustborn is the Antifa power fantasy? Yes, pretty much. So yes, I changed. I selected something wrong there, because I did that, but then oh god, this entire focus tree is such a fucking minefield. Minefield, painful minefield. Okay. Sadness overwhelms me. Sadness overwhelms Arch. Right, I'm probably just going to go and do this offline so I can make sure I can reload it as many times as required to avoid all of the traps the game is laying for me. And then instead, we're gonna do the final boss fight against Griffonia as the last episode. That sounds like a good idea. That sounds like better, yeah. I tried to find a step-by-step guide for this, by the way. None exists. There is a step-by-step guide for the good ending, but, well, that one just looks kind of gay. So there's that. And an document 20 more to Snoot game. Volcano High. This Equestria mod is simultaneously cool, but also awful with just how easily it is to essentially get soft-locked. Now, to be fair here, this is mostly this particular thing right here. All of the other ones that I've played have not had the same problem at all. All of the other ones have been perfectly fine in like doing what they're supposed to do, and I will add that to Snoot game. All of the other ones have worked. Like Griffonia, I had no problems with getting soft locked. Rib Federation, no problems getting soft locked. With even like the Crystal Empire stuff, no problems getting soft locked. Only this one, only this tree, I've got problems getting soft locked, and it's mostly because the entire setting of the universe is that the good guys always win, of course, and so when you're trying to do the evil storyline, it's very derpy, to put it like that. Very goddamn derpy. God's help me. Well, that is a lot of stuff to redo, isn't it? Right. I am going to wrap it there. It'll be shorter than usual. I'll resume it once I've actually done the proper thing. And I can finally actually get to an end point. And then Griffonia, because I've got to fight Griffonia. I mean, fucking look at it. Actually, let me have a look at Griffonia first. I want to see just how monstrous it is. I want to see how enormously massive Griffonia is. And they've taken the path we did not take when we were playing the Strawberry Griffins. They've gone with the old crazy person. Jesus. Okay, that's quite a lot of stuff. They have 6.86 million pony power. Oh, holy fuck. My Jesus. Oh, wow. And they're pretty much fully mechanized as well. 6.86 million pony power. Fuck. 626 military factories. 104 dockyards. Jesus. Oh wow, my god, that is something. I mean, I knew Griffonia was ridiculous for playing them. Oh wow, Jesus, okay, yeah, invading them is gonna be very fun indeed. Where even would I start? I mean, probably here, honestly. Because if I could seize this island, I would at least have like something to kind of stop them here, like a point that I could fortify. Before very, very slowly and very, very carefully trying, probably for new, like this, the new Manhattan area. Maybe invading here, yeah, just invade all of their islands, split them apart as much as possible. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need to make my entire army mechanized, that's for damn sure. All of it is gonna need to be mechanized. All of it is going to need to be top of the line shit. Lots of strat bombers, lots of tactical bombers, lots of ground attackers, and a ridiculous amount of fighters, as I'm thinking they probably have, oh boy, yeah. Yeah, they've got a few aircrafts as well, a few million, it seems like. Mein Gott. Mein kind and gentle Gott. And Wrath, Arch, question, have you played a Fire Emblem game? Would you ever consider playing an FE game or an FE ROM hack fan game? Witcher? I'm certainly not against it. I've never played them though, so I know nothing about them, but I've heard they're good, so that's nice. Oh, so did that actually register? Yes, it should have, yes. I think. Oh, boy. Oh well. There you go. Horror abounds. Horror abounds indefinitely. I am going to go and play this campaign for, I think now, the 8th time to finally get to the actual unlockable part. And later today, let me see if I can actually find it. Later today, I will be on Lumi's podcast thingy. There we go. I'll save in a raid for that in case anyone is interested in watching Lumi's podcast, which I will be a guest on in like 5 hours, mind you. But if you are interested, do check it out. And until tomorrow, thank you all very much for watching. And I hope to see you all again soon, with some sort of conclusion to the Changeling slog. Have a good day.